I think this one is a lot more cut and dry than, even though I'm a Terry guy, I think this one's a lot more cut and dry than the Terry McLaurin situation. So Terry McLaurin was going into a contract that's going to pay him into his early 30s as a wide receiver. And you can easily look at that number as a executive, as someone that's trying to figure out how to put together a football team. And you can look at that and say, okay, that age 30 threshold, you do start to see some fall off. Laremy Tunsil is going to be up for a contract this offseason, because if you just look at his contract right now for Laremy Tunsil, this will be the final year of his deal. His cap hits about $25 million. And I think they want to get something done, so obviously he'll have something for the future, something that he can lean on, but also something to lower that cap hit a little bit and to give him a little more security, something that he's going to likely want. And that's fine, because this is someone who played at a really high level. I don't know how much emphasis you put on PFF grades. I don't put tons of it, but it is a good reference point just to understand those guys watch every single snap and give you an idea of where they have these guys ranked. And by those rankings last year, Laremy Tunsil was 6th among all offensive tackles in a grade. He was 2nd in pass blocking and 21st in run blocking. And you traded a lot of picks to go get this guy, and I think he lived up to the hype of what you were trying to get. I think the biggest compliment that you can give to an offensive tackle, specifically a left tackle a lot of times, especially a guy that you're bringing in for pass protection first, is to not even notice him, to not feel like you hear his name a lot. And I felt like there was never a time when I was watching this team this year where I was like, oh, you got to worry about Laremy Tunsil on that left side. Didn't worry about him at all. Matter of fact, there were a couple of times where Cliff would run something where he would chip both sides, and was something that I think he'd left in from last year where he would help out both sides, both guys. And it was something where, to me, I'm like, if you have to chip on the left side, then why did you trade for this guy? And I think after a while, they stopped doing it. They would chip still on Connerly's side to help him out. But eventually, it was just like, we're going to leave him on an island. We're going to let him handle things. And for the most part, he's going to be just fine. Barely gave up any sacks, only gave up 2 this year. He had 8 penalties, but that's not nearly the amount that people were expecting when he was brought over here. Only allowed 15 pressures all year, only allowed 2 hits to go along with the 2 sacks. So he was someone that did a fantastic job this season at the left tackle position. And when you look at this position particularly, even though he'll be 32 by the time week 1 kicks off, when you look at that left tackle position, you can play well there for a long time. You look at Trent Williams, who was still ranked 3rd this year in PFF for best offensive tackles. That dude's going to be 38 by the time we kick off next season. He was playing in his age 37 season and was still just as good as his time when he was here in D.C. Now, he's a different tackle. He's a beast, one of the greats, probably a Hall of Famer type. Like, he's a little bit different. He's better than Laremy Tunsil. But I don't think this needs to be that complicated if you're Washington when you go into this. And I think we're going to learn a lot about Adam Peters' negotiation tactics. So if you just look at AAV in terms of where guys rank, Laremy Tunsil is just inside the top 10. He's tied with 2 other guys for 7th highest AAV at $25 million. Lane Johnson, Bernard Ryman are both at $25 million. Christian Darrisaw is at 26. Charles Cross for Seattle, their left tackle, is at 26.1. Trent Williams is just over 27.5. Penei Sewell's at 28. Tristan Wirfs is 28.1. And then Rashawn Slater's at the top at 28.5. I don't think there needs to be much discussion here if I'm Adam Peters and I'm working with Laremy Tunsil on this new contract. Name the number and let's get it done. Name the number. Now, you're not going to go outrageous, but if he says, I want to be the highest paid tackle, okay, I'll go up to 29. I can go to 29.5. Heck, I'd even go 30. I don't really care that much. You're that good of a player. And I don't think that you know, if you're going that high, you can negotiate a little bit and we can work back and forth and probably get to a number that we can agree on. But let's just say he ends up in that 29 and a half range AAV. That's totally fine with me. I'm curious to see how Adam Peters goes about this process this time around. I'm curious to see. Because if you look back to last year with Terry McLaurin, this thing dragged on and went throughout training camp, and it made him miss time and this and that. Now, if there's one guy on the offense that could essentially not practice at all throughout training camp, not practice at all throughout the preseason, and step in week one, and I wouldn't be all that worried, it would be Laremy Tunsil. That might be the one guy on the football team. I said this last year. It's funny because I get frustrated by the amount of off days they would give guys. Like, I can't have the whole defense have the day off on Wednesdays every single week to get ready for football on Sunday. Can't have that. But you know one guy that could essentially never practice and I wouldn't care? Laremy Tunsil. He's the one guy. And I think at that position, because I've seen other dudes at that position, specifically Trent Williams, I've seen other guys at that position be able to get things done and play at an elite level while not having to be at practice every single day giving full effort. And they can still go out there on Sunday and play at a high enough level that I don't really care what you do. Just go out there and be elite on Sunday. And as long as that continues to be the case, we don't have to change things up. Laremy Tunsil to me is that kind of a player. He's not the same level, but he's not that far off from what Trent can do. And so when you look at this offseason going into it, I'm very curious to see how Adam Peters goes about this. Because, again, for me, I'd get this done immediately. What's the number you want? You want to be highest paid? Let's go to 29. You want to go up to 29 and a half? Fine. Let's get this thing done. Let's not worry about it. Let's put it in the past. Let's sign you for 3 or 4 years. Let's get this thing over with so we're not talking about that going into training camp this year. I think this one's cut and dry. There were arguments on the other side for Terry McLaurin for why it shouldn't get done. I'd love to hear one argument as to why it shouldn't get done for Laremy Tunsil. And that's why I wonder if Adam Peters is going to try to flex his muscle a little bit in this one, or if he's just going to get the job done. Because if he tries to flex his muscle a little bit in this one, I'll have some questions for him about what he's exactly trying to do. Because right now, where this team is at, this is when you can spend some of this money and not be reckless. But you've got the quarterback on the rookie deal. Now's not the time to play extra hardball on some of your best players, especially after what happened this past offseason with Terry. I think you just get this one done. I think he's one of the best tackles in football. I think that trade is fantastic. And if you don't end up getting this deal done, then you have to start wondering about whether it was the right move to trade for him. Because if there's one negative to me, if there's one thing that frustrates me about the Laremy Tunsil trade, and it's the only thing, because I loved that trade when they made it. I didn't really like a lot of what their offseason moves were last offseason until the Laremy Tunsil trade. But if you look at what that trade did to go along with drafting Josh Connerly, it moved one of your 5 best offensive linemen, in my opinion, to the bench in Brandon Coleman. And while people can tell me that a swing tackle is an important position in modern football, and I don't disagree with them, I do understand the value of having a guy that can step in if either one of those guys goes down. That to me is more of a luxury position than it is a essential position. Because it essentially doesn't play. But like a swing tackle, ideally, is someone you never see. That's the whole point of them. They're your third offensive tackle. It's like a backup quarterback. Ideally, you never see them. Unfortunately for this team, we saw a lot of Marcus Mariota this year. Ideally, your swing tackle, you never see them. So I think they've still got to find a way. Brandon Coleman is one of their 5 best linemen. I think they've got to find a way to get him on the football field. But this Laremy Tunsil deal, I think, is going to open up my eyes a little bit more as to what his plans are for this franchise. Are you trying to penny pinch, every single way that you can? Are you trying to save a buck here and there everywhere you can, and you're going to play hardball, and you're going to be the tough negotiator guy? If that's who you want to establish your reputation as, I guess. I'm not all that interested in doing that with the elite of the elite. I'm not. Not with Laremy Tunsil. I can understand doing this more with Terry McLaurin. Like I said, there were stuff to argue on the other side. You can do the age thing. You can do, is he truly elite, and all those things. And obviously I was on Terry's side on just about every single argument you had, but I can at least see that side of the argument. If you'd like to say that there's no reason to sign Tunsil, go be my guest. Try to find something as to why. Because I don't see anything. So to me, this is something that'll open our eyes a little bit into the insight of Adam Peters. Because if he does play hardball, if he is trying to work this thing and play a little bit of, all right, we're going to try to save a little cash here, then we learn a lot about Adam Peters, that he's basically going to do this with everybody. That he's basically the guy that's going to try to get the best possible deal every single time, and he's not necessarily worried about how good of a player you are. It doesn't really matter who you are. We're going to try to win negotiations our way. And I don't know that I'm going to get on board with that. Because I still don't think that all of the shenanigans last offseason were worth it. And I don't think that Terry's innocent in all of this. I didn't love the way that he approached a lot of the stuff going on last offseason. I didn't love the Eastern's Automotive press conference. I didn't love the showing up to practice to sign autographs afterwards and distract from what's actually going on at practice at the end. I didn't love some of that stuff, even though I was on Terry's side. But I don't know that all of those shenanigans were worth it, even though I guess you ended up with a better deal where you can get out of it after this season. If that was your ultimate goal, I question exactly what the whole point of this was and why you wouldn't have had, I don't know. I don't need to relitigate the Terry McLaurin thing. I just think this one for Adam Peters doesn't need to be one that you spend a lot of time on. Just get it done. Just sign the guy. 800-636-1067. Jim says in the chat, you'll never sign good players playing hardball. I don't think that's 100% true. You can definitely play some hardball with guys, but I think there are certain situations where you don't mess around. To me, on this football team, if you asked me which guys would you not play hardball with, probably only two. Laremy Tunsil's one, because I think it's pretty cut and dry. Pretty easy negotiation. You want to be the highest paid offensive tackle in football? Great, let's get it done. Let's get this thing done. Let's figure it out. There's not a lot you have to argue there. The only other one would be not Terry. Would be Jaden Daniels, because I don't want to ruin the relationship there. And you wonder if you go into this and try to play extra hardball with Laremy Tunsil, how does that affect future deals with other guys on the team or future deals with other guys in free agency? Again, I just think this one's cut and dry. So I don't think you have to spend a lot of time here. But what do you guys think about this with the Laremy Tunsil deal? If he asked to be paid the highest paid tackle in football, so again, just for an example, he's making about $25 million AAV. His cap hit this year is just under $25 million. There's some void years coming up in the next couple of years as well. But the highest paid offensive tackle in football right now is at 28.5, Rashawn Slater. If Laremy Tunsil walks into the negotiation room and says, make me the highest paid tackle, are you saying boo about any of that? Are you expecting there to be any difficulties with this contract? Or do you want to just see this thing get done as soon as possible so we don't have a repeat of the Terry McLaurin situation? 800-636-1067 if you'd like to hop in. Tobi Altizer sitting in for the Junks on President's Day.